Okay. My name is actually Torres. I'm part of the oral history program for HerStory, and I'm here with Andrea Chavez on April 18th, 2025. You want to introduce yourself for the video?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Andrea Chavez. I'm currently in my second semester of my Master's of Public Health program here at Brown University. I am concentrating in applied epidemiology, with a focus on Latino health. And I'm currently working with the National Hispanic Health Foundation as a programs intern, managing the Hispanic Health Professional Network and also the CDC Recruitment and Retention of Diverse Talents program.
Wow, that seems like a lot.
And I'm also a mom, so we're
Um,
surviving, but I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to do as much outreach to my community and give back to my undergraduate program as much as possible. Um, I was also a the Dream.US scholar. Trinity's partnership with the Dream.US has been very influential in my life as well. And now being part of the Health Equity Scholars Program at Brown University, it all ties back to, giving back to our communities, Latinos specifically, and trying to keep the door open for everyone that's coming after us.
okay. Um, and then when you were growing up, what did you want to be? Like, what were your career goals?
Growing up, I knew that I wanted to do something in the medical field. My mom, she was an anesthesiologist back in El Salvador. So yes, I'm originally from El Salvador. I immigrated here when I was 4 years old. And so the fact that my mom was an anesthesiologist and we have like nurses in the family, I always thought that I was going to be directly in clinical work in the healthcare sector. However, later on in undergrad, being undocumented also played a significant role in what careers I could choose. And I was aiming to be a dentist, so going to dental school. However, in my junior year, I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis. And so because of that, a limited mobility, because it was considered a disability at the time, I had to stop working and I had to pivot careers. And so senior year, as I was trying to navigate what I wanted my postgraduate plans to be, I met Rosie, who's the director of the Health Equity Scholars Program at Brown University. And we talked about the program a little bit. She briefly told me about what the program encompassed, how public health has been in my life for several years. And so I started to picture myself in public health, because I knew that I wanted to do the work. I knew that having the lived experience of being undocumented, being Latina, being low income, first generation, that in itself is something that is very much mirrored in our communities within healthcare, um, and helping people navigate these spaces, creating more accessibility, more equitable healthcare, and really knowing where people are and being empathetic and culturally aware about this level of adversity that people face. Um, and now I'm in my second semester of the program, and I've really enjoyed it. And I've been able to do a lot of research, both within Brown University and as well as with the National Hispanic Health Foundation, and really addressing healthcare disparities, determinants of health, and trying to make better solutions and better interventions to um, combat these disparities and create better health outcomes for Latinos in our community.
And then for college, what was it like? Like, was Trinity your first option or?
So, going back to, growing up undocumented, I was DACA eligible. However, because of my family situation, um, I wasn't able to afford to apply to DACA. So my dad, he was actually schizophrenic. He had his first schizophrenic episode when I was 11. And that's when the car accident happened, and I broke my pelvis. Then he relapsed again when I was 13, and then finally when I was 15, right at the time where I was able to apply for DACA. And during the last relapse, he was in and out of correctional facilities, hospitals, and my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom for 12 years at that point, and she had to re-enter the workforce as a 40 plus year old. So she faced a lot of age discrimination, and she spent quite a while unemployed. Um, and then on top of that, I was undocumented and also first gen. So I didn't really know I knew how to apply to undergrad, but I didn't really know what it entailed. I didn't know what it encompassed. And I didn't have anyone to guide me. So really navigating like my personal life and also college applications was a very big struggle for me. And of course, the financial burden of, my mom being unemployed and also being like the sole income. I later had to, go to work when I was 16 to help offset the cost of, being a senior because no one really talks about how expensive it is to graduate and going to prom and paying your senior dues. Like I had to pay for all my senior dues out of pocket. Um, and so because of this, I didn't really have the support of having someone hold my hand and say, I think you're a great student. You should apply to 5, 10 colleges. I was also going through a lot of self-esteem issues because it was hard for me to understand that, you know, what I'm currently living isn't relatable to anyone else in my grade level, especially because I went to a magnet school. So a lot of the students there, like their parents were engineers, they had undergraduate degrees. And my mom, although she was an anesthesiologist, she was a busser here in the States. Um, and so it was really hard to relate to other people. I will say going to a magnet school did allow me the opportunity to even think that I could apply and I could get into a college. Um, being said, I applied to 3 universities when I was a high school senior, one of them being Trinity. Then I also applied to Notre Dame, which is another all-girls school in Baltimore, Maryland. And then my read school was actually University of Miami. Um, and I got accepted to Notre Dame. I got waitlisted from University of Miami, and then of course I got accepted to Trinity. And I got a half scholarship for Notre Dame. So um, just overall, I feel like I could have applied to other universities, but at the same time, like I wasn't in the mental space to do so. And then on top of that, knowing how to finance, undergrad. I remember my senior year, I was applying to scholarships like every week, like as many as I could. And I had a great mentor. and she was from Harvard, and she also helped me find scholarships. And so I ended up getting the Dream.US's scholarship, and I also got another private small scholarship um, from Self-Made Scholars, which was a nonprofit organization, which I think currently does no longer exist. So between both of them and then Trinity's private scholarship, I was able to fully fund my undergraduate degree. And then at my time in Trinity, I did feel like, sometimes it felt like I always felt very supported. I remember there was times that I felt like I could have reached to a little bit, to a more competitive school. Because that was a feeling that I had, especially coming from like my magnet high school. And they also went to like more competitive schools. Um, but overall, I really enjoyed my time at Trinity. I think that the support was there. I had never been in such a supportive, undocumented community like ever. I didn't tell anyone in my high school that I was undocumented until my senior year when I just felt like I had no other choice because how else are they going to help me if I didn't tell them, right? That this is what I'm going through. Um, but I think Trinity was the first place that made me feel safe to come out and say, I'm undocumented. I don't have a social security number. I don't know if I can work after this. And for me, that meant everything, right? Because even now, currently at Brown, like yes, I can tell people like, oh yeah, I'm undocumented because I had built up that confidence. But that community isn't as prevalent as it was at Trinity.
And then at your experience in Trinity, did you have any challenges there being a woman of color?
In terms of challenges, I think as far as being a woman of color, I felt very supported. I was in the Butterfly Network. I was president of Ladies First. Um, and I was also in the honors program for some time. Um, and then I was a chemistry major in undergrad, and I minored in data analytics. So I really feel like as a woman of color, I was able to use everything that Trinity had given me to the best of my advantage. And I say that to say, like I was able to get some of these internships with, John Hopkins. I did the SURE program in partnership with Johns Hopkins for a summer of research. Um, and then I was also doing like the CSIS scholarship with the Center of Strategic and International Studies. That was also in partnership with Trinity. Um, and overall the support that I got from like my professors, being in a small classroom, um, being able to be in close contact with them, to go to office hours, they were really there, and they really held your hand through the process, for what it feels like to me. Um, and so I think the leadership experience that I was able to gain at Trinity really put me in the best situation. Sorry. Really put me in the best situation to be a competitive candidate when I went on to apply for graduate school. Um, and I think, going to a minority serving institute in itself, right, you have that level of community that you don't really have at a predominantly white institution. Because, here at Brown, I'm one of 5 students that are Latina within the School of Public Health. Um, and so even with us, with there being 5, right, everyone's doing their own thing. Like there's not really a sense of tight-knit community as it felt at Trinity, right? Because you have a bit more flexibility. It's a longer program, right? You have 4 years. Um, and most of the friends that I made in undergrad, I'm still in contact with today. And they've been one of the best people that I have ever met. And I'm very grateful to have created that level of sisterhood. Um, I don't feel envy from them. I feel immense support. And, you know, if it wasn't for that level of, trauma bond per se, that they knew what it was like to be undocumented. They knew what I was going through. They knew, the language. They knew Spanish. They knew how hardworking we are. Like they were also first gen. They were also low income. Um, that was something that Trinity gave us that at this point, I feel like it's just going to be a bond for life. And I'm very, very grateful for that.
And then at Trinity, did you have a mentor or like a role model there?
At Trinity, I feel like I had multiple mentors. I think Dr. Moss, she was um, one of the most influential people at Trinity for me. She was the one that um, pioneered the SURE program at Johns Hopkins, and she was always there for me. She was also like um the advisor for the Ladies First, the Ladies Fierce in Research, Science, and Technology. Um, and she was really my number one cheerleader at the time there. Whenever I needed a letter of recommendation, she was there. Whenever I needed a new idea for an event at with Ladies First, she was there to look at like internship opportunities, fellowship opportunities. She was always there. She was always very open to just talk. Um, Dean Michi, she was amazing. I really love her. She was a great mentor for me as well. She was there from we became closer and formed more of a mentor mentee relationship during my sophomore year when I started to be a little bit more involved on campus because I was also the Commuter Student Association president. And so during that time, she really helped guide me through the process of, event planning, um, creating more events for students on campus. Um, and overall, like she was a huge advocate for, obtaining paid internships. She was there when I got into Brown. I think she was the one that actually told everyone that I got into Brown, and like it became a huge deal. And I was a bit shy about it at first because, you know, I didn't know how to take it because at the end of the day, it felt like I don't even know why they picked me. Like that was my initial reaction, so I didn't know how to react to it. But she was the one that told everyone, like she told President McGuire, um, and she told, the deans and the provost, and she was always there to support me and to cheer me on. She knew my potential before I realized what my potential was. Um, and so just being there to, tell me to just apply. Because sometimes you just need that one person to tell you, maybe you get in or maybe you don't. But if you apply, you at least know if that was going to come into fruition or not. If you never apply, you'll never know. And so she was that person for me. And of course, like after during my senior year and even now that, I became a mom, she was super supportive about that too. She congratulated me about, this new phase in my life and um they really feel like family and I feel like if your mentors later feel like family, then that's just that's just a testament to how influential and how much they care about you and how much they wish you the best, sincerely.
And then at Trinity, you attended from what year to what year?
At Trinity, I was there from fall of 2023 to spring of tw no, I said that wrong. Fall of 2019 to spring of 2023.
So you graduated 2 years ago, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then was there anything historic that happened there that had impacted you a lot? Either at Trinity or like in the world overall?
I would say, I was there during COVID. So we experienced COVID spring of 2020, and then we came back in, I think it was like junior year fall. So actually like experiencing undergrad through Zoom was in of itself an experience. It was so challenging because at the time, even in my personal life, like I was having to work more hours because my mom's hours got cut. Um, but I was considered an essential worker. I was working at a restaurant at the time, and luckily for me, like the restaurant had a drive-through, and they were still pretty busy. Um, and then I got COVID for some time, and actually trying to balance working from home, being a full-time student through Zoom, and also having like financial responsibilities was very challenging for me. And then I would say, you know, having to adjust to taking all your classes through Zoom because it's a very different experience. I personally love having to go to lectures like in person in a classroom with my professor. It feels like you make a more meaningful relationship with your professors that way, and it's just a different feel. Like, and because I was I didn't really have my own room. Like it was really difficult to kind of combat, um, taking your concentrating while you're in your lecture and taking notes while like there's a whole mess in the background, right? Like there's people talking and it's really difficult. Um, and then the second thing that happened that was very pivotal to why I even went to Brown was my osteoarthritis diagnosis, spring of my junior year. So that was spring 2022. Um, and like I said again, right, like I had to scrap my whole previous plan. Um, because I couldn't really fathom taking that much student debt, to go to dental school. And I was also like disabled because I was getting really bad flare-ups. And osteoarthritis doesn't really have they don't have a cure for it. You all you can do is take NSAIDs, like meloxicam, which are non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, or you can have like surgery, like a hip replacement. Um, However, hip replacements only last for 15 to 20 years. And given that I was 20 when I was diagnosed, I didn't really want to get my first hip replacement that young because I didn't really know, how long it was going to last. And I didn't know if I was going to need two or three down the road. And then your bones keep on becoming more and more fragile with each hip replacement, right? Um, and so I decided that the best decision financially and just given my circumstances was just to scratch going to dental school. And then my doctor also said that I couldn't work anymore. I couldn't work in fast food anymore. because the long hours that I was standing was actually like harming me. Like it was making the progression of my osteoarthritis um, become more severe at a quicker rate. So during that time, I was still fully undocumented. Um, and I kind of knew that going to like getting a job as an employee was off the table. I had though applied to special immigrant juvenile status. And so I was that was on the table as a maybe, like maybe I can get my social security number and work authorization through that method, that route. And so I was just paranoid. Like I didn't know what to do. Like it was and as a person that likes to plan their life, like it was a very scary situation for myself. And so during that time, I was actually in an internship with UCLA's labor union, called Dream Summer. And through that fellowship, I was able to work with um, the Dream.us. No, United We Dream, sorry. I was able to work with United We Dream as a advocacy as a federal advocacy fellow. And through UCLA's Dream Summer Network, I was able to meet other exceptional students that were also undocumented, that were also navigating like being an undergrad, post grad plans. And so through one of the people that I met there, they introduced me to the world of conferences, which, if you don't know, right, conferences, you can either pay like on your behalf, right? Like you can pay your own ticket and your own lodging and etc. But she told me that she was actually getting sponsored by her university to attend the conference. And for me at the time, I was like, what do you mean? Like you're getting sponsored to attend, like you're able to go for free? Like that sounds incredible, right? And so I made a couple of emails to both the president of Trinity and to Don Graham, which is the one of the co-founders of the Dream.us. Um, and I would say like maybe 2 weeks later, I received a response and they said that they were going to um, sponsor for me to attend the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities conference in San Diego, California. And there I was able to meet Rosie, and Rosie, she was there as a recruiter, and she was also one of the directors of the Health Equity Scholars Program. And she pitched to me the program, and I kept in contact with her. Um, and then after I left that program, like I shot her an email. I got a fee waiver for the application, and we ended up interviewing for the Health Equity Scholars Program, and I ended up getting a deal with them. So they ended up offering me the space as a health equity scholar, and with that, full tuition was covered, and I was guaranteed a research assistantship with them, which would provide me with a living stipend to live in Rhode Island, and now I'm here. Um, but I think just being relentless and very determined with all your goals, and even though life throws at you curveballs, just knowing how to get back up and knowing how to keep on fighting for your dreams. I feel like that's what my life has taught me. Um, Even now as a mom, right? I think after I had my daughter, there was that feeling of, I don't know if I'm going to go back to school, because I had to go out of state, right? I had to figure out who was going to take care of my daughter. I had to figure out how I was going to get an apartment here because I was previously just renting a room. Um, and all the little logistics just made me feel like I couldn't do it. Um, until I did, right? And I think I was a bit delusional in the way that I moved back. But I think that you kind of just need to be a little bit delusional to get things done and to get to that next phase of your life and try to believe in yourself even though you're holding so much self-doubt.
And then what legacy do you hope to leave behind?
Um, right now, I think just being me um, touches a lot of people because I have met so many women that, you know, throughout my journey, right? Um, you come across people that have told you, like, I don't know if I can go to college because I'm undocumented. I don't know if I can go to college because I don't know if I can afford it. I don't know if I can go to college because I'm a mother. I don't know if I can go to college because I don't know the language. I don't know if I can go to college because no one in my family has gone to college, right? And so me being here representing all these parts of my identity, um, as being like a mother, being Latina, being low income, being first generation, um, it in of itself stands for hope for so many people that they can also do it and that they can also reach their goals no matter how impossible it may feel. And that's the legacy that I want to leave, right? I don't want to be the only person and the last person to be in these spaces where sometimes I'm the only Latina, sometimes I'm the only person that knows how to speak Spanish. I'm the only person that represents the culture, even though the interventions are for people of my community, because you see that a lot, right? Currently designing interventions, right? You come across so many groups of people that are, you know, white, non-Latino, right? And they're forming interventions for the Latino community. And it's hard to it's hard to fathom, right? Why aren't people that look like me doing the work for our community, right? And that's a very multifaceted question, right? Because first of all, people like me aren't in these spaces. And, I want to leave that legacy of, you know, I made it this far. You can also make it this far because, I had multiple barriers in my past and my path, and I still found a way to overcome all of them. And you can too, right? I don't think that there's any barrier for anyone, right? That determines what their path in life is going to look like. Because I wholeheartedly think that you are the only driver in your own life and you determine how far you want to go. Um, and I think it's better said than done. But when you see someone that looks like you, that talks like you, that is from the same culture as you, saying that to you and makes so much more of a difference than if someone that, came from money or if someone that was not first gen or if someone that was not um low income, right? It feels so different when they say it, right? Because it's like, how would you know? You didn't have to go what I went through. Um, and so adding that layer of justification, that level of testimony, um, and showing people that, you can do it too. You can make it very far in life. And actually you're needed in here. You are very much needed because right now for Latinos with master's degree, the statistic is currently at 5%. Only 5% of Latinos have hold a master's degree, and in a couple years, we're no longer going to be a minority, right? So I think that we just need to uplift each other and show each other that it's it's able to be done, and that you too can make it this far, right? And just being supportive and being hope for other people is something that I want other people to feel, right? Because I know that coming from you know me being a senior in high school, if someone would have told me like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that I would be at an Ivy League institution, um, I would say that, you're joking, right? Because I didn't even have the confidence to apply when I was 18. Like I didn't like the way that I was thinking about it, I was like, I don't have the test scores. I don't think that they're going to want me. Like, why would they want me, right? And so building confidence in our youth is so, so, so important. And now as a mom, right? Just even like talking to my daughter in a way that, enables her to believe in herself, right? Because in our culture, sometimes it's so easy for our parents to kind of shove shove being going to college as something that is like completely impossible. Um, And I'm saying that based on my personal experience because I remember my parents like they told me, how are you going to go to college? Like you're not a citizen, like you don't qualify for FAFSA. Um, Scholarships are highly competitive. Like if you want to go, like you need to work very hard and, pay for college on your own because we don't have the finances to cover it. Um, and so really just rewriting the narrative. I think we're so powerful as a community and our representation is needed. And, if I'm here right now and I decided to come back to my undergrad to share my story, it's to empower other women to keep on going. Um, and to not feel like they're not enough because they are.
So, those are all my questions for today. Thank you for doing this interview. Thank you for accepting our invites.
Yeah, of course.
So,
If you need my contact information, I can give it to you. And also my LinkedIn.
okay. I need to set up a LinkedIn because I don't have one, but I probably should.
Perfect. You can look at mine and just replicate it. It's
Okay.
fine.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Have a good rest of your day.